Book one on about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy, a guide to remembrance, returning humanities to the wisdom within. None other than Miss Maria Camila Betancur. Welcome. Yes, welcome, Miss Maria, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more by yourself that I miss?
Yes, thank you, Daniel. It's an honor and a pleasure being here with you today. A little bit about myself. I'm the founder and minister of an entheogenic church here in Austin, Texas. I work with different modalities to support people to come back into themselves and remember, reconnect with the power and sovereignty of their being. And I do that through, like I said, different modalities from psychotherapy through sound and energy healing, and then the use of sacred entheogens as well.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Maria. Thank you. And today let's talk about why daily practices or rituals do you recommend for staying connected to your inner guidance. So, before we discuss practices, how do you personally define inner guidance? Is it intuition, spiritual connection, or subconscious, or something else?
I believe it's a little bit of all that you just shared. Inner guidance is being able to come into complete stillness so that we can hear the whispers of our soul, of our spirit guiding us, being able to remove the outside noise, so that we're not being coerced, manipulated, or guided by somebody else's truth, but rather being able to go into inward into our center of our being to find what our truth is in coherence. And coherence is the alignment of the mind and the heart, where they're speaking the same language.
Speaking the same language, and in your hyper connected, noisy world, what do you see as the biggest barrier that drowns out this inner voice for the most people?
Well, I would say the phones. um,
Yes.
because we have so much accessibility to the external world through the phone. So even if we're at home in a quiet space by ourselves, we much rather be engaged in the noise of what's happening in the world than be sitting with self and the silence of 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 our being.
Yes, phones is the most distracting innovation that, well, we will face until this century. And how is your physical state? Things like sleep, nutrition, and movement fundamentally connected to our ability to hear and trust our inner guidance.
Right. It's a beautiful question because our body speaks a language that we're not used to speaking. It speaks through sensations. And so when we can connect to our bodies by moving our bodies, whether it's through yoga, going to the gym, going for a walk, really connecting to the receptors of our body and the way it speaks, which oftentimes it must scream at us through illnesses and diseases because we haven't heard the light whispers. And so the movement invite us to listen more carefully to what the body, which has infinite wisdom, has to say to us, and it often can guide us into these deeper states of consciousness.
Deeper state of consciousness. If someone could only do one practice in the first 10 minutes of their day to set the tone for connection, what would you recommend and why?
Well, it depends where they are in their journey. The very simple thing that I can recommend is going outside and looking at the sun, closing their eyes and just being there, facing the sun with your eyes closed, just being there for the 10 minutes and breathing. And with a very simple and gentle mantra: breathe in, breathe out,
Breathe out.
breathe in, breathe out.
Breathe out.
And you can say it internally, and that mantra in itself invites you to the quietness of the mind, because we can listen to meditations, we can listen to manifestations, we can listen to many things, but even that can be a noise that's not training us to be in the quietness of our being. So at first, it's just literally saying it out loud, and then under our breath and in our mind: breathe in, breathe out,
Breathe out.
breathe in. Mhm.
Breathe out. People, repeat. Breathe in, breathe out. Especially if we stress. I always tell to myself, relax, take a deep breath, relax.
That's it. It's
It's
very
the
simple.
simple but effective. How
That's right.
important, yes, how important is the physical space and time for these rituals? Do you recommend a dedicated guidance corner or a strict schedule, or is it flexibility key?
Well, it really depends on who you are and what you're navigating. If I'm talking to somebody that's predominantly feminine and they're wanting to work with their femininity, then I would invite a more fluid schedule, where there is time for these practices, and yet it's fluid and in movement, because the feminine is movement, it's fluidity. If I'm speaking to somebody that's predominantly masculine and that's where they want to be, then I would invite more structure. Now, the shadow of structure is rigidity. So when we get too rigid of I have to have this time and this, then that is an indication that the person's needing a little bit more of fluidity, more feminine. And so I would invite that person to have a little bit more of a loose schedule, if you will, to balance off the rigidity.
To balance, people, balance the rigidity, because very important. If you're not balanced, for sure everything is in chaos. While meditation is powerful, what is an underrated or lesser known daily practice that you have found exceptionally effective for tuning inward?
Um, Grounding with the earth, going outside and just looking around our surroundings. And, unfortunately, in very busy cities, that may not be as available because there's buildings, high rises, and cars and pollution everywhere. But even just being able to find a small patch of grass where you can just be barefoot and literally just be standing.
Grounding, people, be one on earth. Feel the Mother Earth. Yes. Feel the rotation. It's the rotation of the earth. So, Miss Maria, what style of journaling, prompt based, stream of consciousness, dialoguing with the inner self, or do you find most effective for accessing clear guidance, and what is powerful starter prompt?
Hmm. I mean, there's multiple multiple practices that one can do. What works most for me, I'm actually an external processor, so I process mostly verbally. So being able to have moments with somebody that I trust, or even with myself in the mirror, or writing it out of my thoughts. Usually, as I'm speaking them or writing them out, I'm receiving the answers or the clarity I'm looking for, because it's coming out of here of my head and being um, kind of outputted into something that allows me to go into that fluidity and that stream of thought, and then develop after. And so oftentimes, I will be just sharing with somebody what's alive for me, and then in that I'm receiving my own answer. And so that is something I recommend: being able to have somebody that you trust, that you can just actively share what is alive for you. It's very simple. Or being in front of the mirror and sharing it with yourself. Now when you're doing it with another person, it's really important to establish the boundaries and guidelines of the conversation, because oftentimes in these spaces we're wanting to be heard, not responded or fixed. And so that starts by letting the individual know that you are only wanting to be heard and received in this moment prior to sharing. And that way, they are not moving into fixing something that they perceive as wrong or different based on their perception.
Miss Maria, tell us how mindful movement like walking yoga be used not just for exercise but an active ritual to move through mental blocks and receive a bodily wisdom.
Mm. Well, it can, even just a simple practice of walking, of going for a walk, can clear the mind in a way where this wisdom can come through. It can soften our body if we're tense. If one tends to be in the computer often, there's the tenseness that happens both in the physical body, but also the exhaustion as it is overly receiving the wavelengths of EMF and these electromagnetic waves. And so being able to just step out of that, it's one less thing that the body and your energy is needing to process and be engaged with. And the simple task of walking, which is a very we're trained to do that. We don't have to think right left, we just do it. Allows us to be in what would be considered an active state of meditation, which allows the fluidity of wisdom and guidance to come through.
Interesting, Miss Maria. Deepening and the connection. A common fear is mistaking ego or anxiety or true guidance. What is your process for learning to discern the difference? What does the true inner guidance feel like in the body?
I would say that inner guidance feels more like whispers, versus the ego can be more stern or almost screaming or demanding something. The inner guidance is typically really not. It's taking into account what is in the good of the I, the we, and the all. It is not completely self-serving in its totality, where the ego can often be solely self-serving at the detriment of others, and spirit would not do that at the detriment of others. So the gentle whispers are one of the most common ways to define the difference.
Ms. Maria, can you explain to us the concept of somatic awareness or using the body sensation as a daily ritual to get instant guidance on decisions?
Well, as I was sharing earlier, the body has a lot of wisdom and it speaks in languages that we are still getting used to and understanding. And so, using the body, you can instantly feel, as you connect to it, your yeses and nos when you train yourself to listen to it, because we can oftentimes override it because we're so busy and disconnected from it. So the more we connect to it, the more we can train in understanding, okay, when my body um, has these chills, or like my skin gets, like chicken skin, maybe that's my yes, like that is a full yes for me. When the pit of my stomach drops, it's telling me, it's giving me anxiousness, it's not feeling comfortable, and that means a no. That means maybe I'm being called to put a boundary or remove myself from a place, situation, or person. um, and so these are the ways in which we can learn to understand the language our body speaks, that supports us in the sovereignty and self advocacy of what we need.
Very well said, Miss Maria. Very well said indeed. Why is simply spending time in nature without an agenda, such as potent ritual for connecting, is a deeper sense of knowing and inner calm?
Well, one of the most important things that we see when we go to nature is um, the way nature operates perfectly in balance and harmony. And in nature, we can recognize the cycle of the death and rebirth that happens. You know, right now we're entering winter. We have gone through fall, and during fall, all the leaves are falling, and the tree is pruned and bared, and some trees and plants go dormant, and it's in a sense a death. And they do that trusting that the next season they will begin to blossom and have new leaves and new fruit come alive. And it doesn't waver, and it doesn't question it. And so through that we can learn ourselves as also living beings, how we can go through these expansion and contractions through really hard moments in our life where our leaves are being pruned and the leaves are falling, and then move into with trust and faith that we will blossom again. And so that's just one of the teachings that nature can show us by us simply observing it.
Miss Maria, what are your short term and long term goals?
Short term goals. I would like to become a mother, and so moving myself into the season of that. So that's a very personal short term goal that's coming up. Long term, it is my vision, my mission to continue to establish ourselves here as a community and church that we are, and um, expand in ways that people can truly feel supported and held. And as the hive, all of our members are bees that are come here to receive as a place of refuge and recharge, and then they go off to the world to pollinate. So this long-term vision is being able to support all of those pollinating and spreading their own magic and beauty to the rest of the world, so that the healing can reach all of us collectively. And the hive, this land, the sacred land, continuing to blossom in a way where it's here for generations to come.
Yes, for the legacy for our generation to come. And good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success, Miss Maria. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Um, my advice is to trust yourself. That any storm that you're navigating, through, the way out is through, and that every single hardship is molding you and shaping you into an incredible, magic, powerful being that can, once integrated from those hardships, can share that medicine to people that are navigating similar life journeys. And so trusting that everything is happening for you and not to you, and that there is a divine plan out there. And if you are right now in the middle of the storm, remember that the story is not over.
The story's not over, people. Keep continue and try until you succeed. Don't give up. And Ms. Maria, thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Conversations with God is a very powerful book. He has 3 books, and it is found on audiobook. Also on our website, thehivehealing.com, under resources, you can see we have various book recommendations, and each one of those books have impacted me greatly.
Thank you for that recommended book, Ms. Maria. And tell us. What is the only daily ritual you personally return to without fail, no matter where you are or how busy you are, that keeps you grounded and connected?
Um, I believe gratitude, taking a moment to breathe in and exhale and connect to the gratitude of wherever I am at the end of the day before going to bed, connecting to that gratitude of the life I have, the heartbeat that doesn't stop, and my health, my vitality, and everything that is part of my life.
Yes, definitely. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Maria, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 is third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are fourth season. Science 101, Sex 101 in second season, and my baby podcast Law 101, Mental Health 101, Bible Verses 101, and coming this December, Entrepreneur 101, as well as my Motivational 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Maria, for someone who's consistently shows up for their practices, what is the deeper shift they can expect in their life beyond just better decisions? How does the relationship with the self transform?
It is essentially you're manifesting everything and making reality everything that you have manifested. Because when we can connect to that space of coherence, where our brain is in that the wavelength of creation and stillness through that creation and listening, um, we are powerful beings and manifest everything we desire into reality.
Yes, I am powerful human being. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, Ms. Maria. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, your projects, or anything you want to promote on Book 101?
Yeah, thank you so much. Visiting our website, thehivehealing.com, is the best way to learn more about what we do, and you can become a member there. Also, you can find us on Instagram at the Hive Entheogenic, or my personal Instagram, I am Maria Camilla underscore.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Maria Camila Betancur because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy will rise. So, Miss Maria, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, people. See you soon.